how's it going? I hope you're doing well. In this video, I want to take a look at r/dating over 30 because I feel like it's been a little while and we tend to get more than just, I like my friend, what should I do? The first one though, I'm not sure, this isn't really like dating advice, it seems to be just getting an opinion, which let's see what it says. Why have people become so emotionally picky? I don't know what you mean by that. Is this a 30 plus club problem or is this a 2024 problem? Multiple people fading out after 3 to 4 weeks of going on dates, vibing hard, 6+ hour hangouts, texting every day, and that's generally when I try to have a more serious convo. Sometimes it goes well and sometimes it doesn't. And then all of a sudden, no explanation, just fade out. One time I got straight up ghosted. Is that being emotionally picky? Anyway, let's continue. When I do hear stories like, yeah, I lost interest in her, I don't know, it was really sad, I really liked her, no one likes to lose interest in a great person. Yeah, I really like you, but I just don't know if this could go serious, XYZ reason, I just don't feel crazily in love like I used to back in their 20s. Like, why does this have to be so hard? It's like I can't even believe in initial vibes and excitement anymore. Isn't that what attraction is about? I feel like people are now more interested in the consuming type of attraction, consuming the excitement of the initial spark, rather than trying to nurture attraction through getting to know and caring for the person. FYI, I always pick out on guys that say they want a relationship. I tell them that's what I'm looking for straight up. But then I also don't like speeding things up, so I try to take things at a slow pace because even I feel too pressured to get into a full-on relationship early on. But even after this, so many of them just end up fading out. I'm trying to not take things personal and that this is just a process of healthy elimination, but it's hard to not think that I'm doomed forever. Whether it's a 30 plus thing or a 2024 thing, there seems to be not much I can do about it. I don't see how that's about being emotionally picky. It sounds as if you've just been rejected and you feel some type of way about it. Like you're not accepting the fact that it just didn't work out and you're trying to blame it on some sort of trend. That seems to me what's been happening here. Like I hear stories like, yeah, I lost interest in her, I don't know, it was really sad. I liked her, no one likes to lose interest in a great person. Well then the explanation there is that they liked them at first and then they didn't really anymore. To me, that's fair enough. That's not being emotionally picky. That's just saying, yeah, I liked her at first, but now I don't. Yeah, I really like you, but I just don't know if this could go serious. That's also fair enough. I just don't feel crazily in love like I used to. I doubt that that's a common thing that people would say. If you're just taking this from like one person said it, that's like up to them. There was a video I did like way back about, you know, these toxic relationships and people who want this like super passionate, like wild, crazy, basically fighting all the time kind of love. Maybe that's what this person is talking about here. But I don't really see this as being like a thing, honestly. I think it's just normal and part of the whole dating thing that people are going to reject you, people are going to fade away and stop replying or like just stop talking to each other. Like that's just what happens. And if you like each other enough, then that won't happen. Do you know what I mean? What is it they say, like, I don't know, there's always time if you want it enough or something like that. Do you know what I mean? Like basically you'll make time for the things that are important to you. And if you like somebody enough to like want to keep seeing them or something, then you're gonna make the time to like message them and stuff like that, you know? So I don't think people have become so emotionally picky. I mean, what was it they say as well? Something about nurturing. Yeah, I feel like people are now more interested in the consuming type of attraction, consuming the excitement of the initial spark, rather than trying to nurture attraction through getting to know and caring for the other person. I don't think that's necessarily true either. Like there's always going to be people on either side of it, right? But as I say, like I think you're just making a trend out of something that's just really normal. Anyway, they didn't ask for any advice, so let's move on. Should I date a man after he initially rejected me? TLDR, a guy I met on Bumble, 33-year-old male, who rejected me, 31-year-old female, after our first date, but we formed a friendship, now wants to be in a relationship, and I'm now unsure. In this time frame, I've lost about 30 pounds, back to usual, had gained during a bad breakup. While I think I'm okay knowing he might be more physically attracted to me now, I still want to make sure he wants the relationship for more than superficial reasons, especially since I still had interest from cute guys at my larger weight. How do I trust or sort out his intentions? Can I trust the change, or should we just remain friends? I'm surprised because I've always been told, maybe wrongly, that guys won't change their mind after first impression, unlike women. What's your sources? Where are you getting this from? Longer version plus background. In the fall, I met a guy on Bumble and we texted every day for 2 months. Plus one FT. FaceTime? Plus one FaceTime before our first date in Boston. For 2 months before you go on a first date? Damn. Where I was moving shortly, I got caught up in the excitement of the false intimacy of texting. Communication died down before the first date on his end, bracing me for disappointment. But we did go on a first date when I was in town, which I enjoyed, but he ended up sending me a text stating he was not actually ready for a long-term connection. That just seems like a dick move on his part. I think the rejection intense, as in overly apologetic and presumptuous. I did think the rejection was intense, as in overly apologetic plus presumptuous, given our one date. I let him know I understood, reminded him we hadn't discussed a long-term relationship, and I saw the date as just a vibe check to get to know each other better despite our texting. I was disappointed he didn't explore it further, but understood. Next time I was in town, I took a risk and offered to meet him for coffee platonically, and to my surprise he took me up on it and we had a great convo. Fast forward to my permanent move and we became fast friends, bonding about how we don't really love the area, our work struggles, dating struggles, and how he's thinking of moving back home. Then, hanging out one time, he tried to kiss me after we were drinking at his. I pulled back and told him that while I enjoy his company, I'm not looking for a friends with benefits situation. I was still looking for a long-term relationship, and that getting together with him in that way would keep me from finding one. He respected that, apologised, and we took a week or two apart and started hanging out again, but more sparingly. Then last week, he asks me to talk and says he wants a relationship if I'm open to it. I asked him what's changed since we first met, but he couldn't articulate it, and I told him I needed some time to think. So that's where I'm at now. I'm torn because he's a great guy, we have the same values, but I'm afraid that 1, he just wants a relationship because he's lonely or not happy here, and I don't want to be an in the meantime relationship if he might move away. 2, I'm worried the change is purely due to the change in my physical appearance, and while I'm okay with that to an extent, want to make sure he's not too superficial. I'm thinking of just remaining friends, but at the same time wondering if I should take the risk if this is something real. Help! Edit, while I'm trying to figure out whether to move forward and figure out if he's ready for the relationship or even too superficial. He's not the dick some of you all are making him out to be. Please be kind. Clarification on relationship ask. When he told me he wanted a relationship a week after he tried to kiss me, he said as soon as he pulled back and said you didn't want friends with benefits, I should have said that wasn't what I was looking for and I wanted to be with you. But when you said it would keep you from exploring a long-term relationship, I was scared it meant you didn't want anything romantic with me at all. But when I asked him what changed, he couldn't articulate. It's still concerning, but after comments, going to give him a second chance. This man also watched my cat cook me meals when I was sick. Blah blah. So please give him a break. Girl, what I don't see there is anything about how you feel about him. I see this often enough for it to bother me, that people are like, oh, this person is interested in me, but there's something that, might be untoward or something that might not be quite right. Should I go out with them? And there's nothing about I like them or I don't like them or I'm still interested in them or I'm not still interested in them. Girl, just because somebody offers themselves to you doesn't mean you have to take it. Do you know what I mean? Just because someone offers you cake doesn't mean you have to eat it. So I would always say that's the first thing to do. Decide whether you're even interested in this person. Like, I feel like maybe it's kind of even related to the last one about being so emotionally picky. I have the impression that some people, I don't want to say that they're so insecure because that's a bit unfair, but some people are so kind of feeling a certain way about relationships and maybe aren't confident or haven't had the experiences that they have, like, you know, a good selection of people to choose from, for some reason they're thinking that, you know, their chances with people are going to be sparing. I have the impression that these people think, okay, then as soon as somebody expresses interest in me, I have to jump on that because no one else is going to be interested in me. Do you know what I mean? Which is a little bit sad, and I think probably unlikely to be the case. You know, there's someone for everyone. So yeah, think first about how you feel about this person. For me personally, once I've just become friends with someone, that's it, sorry, like, friend zone. Like, for me, I've talked about this before, for me, I find it a bit weird when people have been friends for years and years and then all of a sudden they get together. I'm not judging it, I just don't understand it. So for me, if it's like, if we're just friends, we're just friends. Like, if you tell me you're not interested, my mind switches. I don't look at you the same way anymore. And then if you come back and say, well, hey, actually, I've changed my mind, I do actually quite like you, I don't want to be in a relationship with you. Sorry, the bed's been made already. Do you know what I mean? How do y'all feel about that? Let me know in the comments below. I'm genuinely interested, like, how people feel about, like, people changing their mind and then getting in a relationship with someone who you were just friends with. But anyway, that's what I would look at in the first instance. Assuming that you are interested, then what should you do? To be fair, sometimes the way you feel about wanting to be in a relationship does just change and you don't know exactly why. Sometimes it's a number of things. It could even be that he doesn't want to outwardly say, or he doesn't realise that it's that he doesn't want a long-term relationship in general, but actually he would be in one to be with you. Do you know what I mean? Like, it might be that, like, he thinks you're so great that he would want to, you know, put a ring on that eventually. I mean, not that intense, but do you know what I mean? It could be the weight thing. For one, I would ask, I'd be like, you know, when you're asking about what's changed in the last few months, I would just say, well, do you think it's anything to do with my weight? Because that is kind of on my mind. And then secondly, think about how he's been, like, while you've been friends, like the kind of comments that he makes. Is he judgmental towards other people superficially? Does he seem to talk about people's appearance a lot? And if he does, then yeah, probably it's to do with that. But if he doesn't, then, you know, there's maybe a better chance that it's unrelated. Maybe it's just part of it. Maybe it's like, well, yeah, now I'm even, like, more attracted to you physically than I was before, or I don't know, just you seem like more confident since you've lost weight or something. Do you know what I mean? If you still like him, I would give it a chance, to be honest, but make it clear that you still want to take things, like, a little bit slow, because I think just because you've known someone for a long time doesn't mean that you should just, like, bang, be, like, right into, like, an intense, serious relationship. Like, it's a different type of relationship, so it still needs a bit of time to bake. Do you know what I mean? So I would give him another chance and take it slow. Next. How can you break up for practical reasons, then get over it? Explain. So my boyfriend's last serious relationship was a couple of years ago. They broke up because of distance, and he said he was convinced that was the right decision. In a few discussions, when the topic of breakups comes up, he said something along the lines of, sometimes nothing is wrong and people just break up for practical reasons. I agree with that, to be fair. This interrogates me. I don't think you're using that word correctly, or is there another reason that I'm not sure of? This interrogates me? Irritates, maybe? To me, and us in dot, and us in what? Might be among those who have, dating over 30. And us in dating over 30 might be among those who have struggled more with romance. But to me, a good relationship is a rare privilege. I have never ended something strictly based on practicalities, and I don't know how I could have processed something like that. When I asked him more about it, he just reaffirmed it was the right thing to do without elaborating on it. For me, getting over my breakups always had an element of clinging on to the incompatibilities or knowing I had to exit a bad situation. I have had long distance relationships, and while this made the relationship harder, it was never the core reason for the breakup. It would be helpful for me to understand that perspective a bit better, as I'm in an echo chamber of people who change their circumstances rather than giving up on a good relationship. Have you broken up for practical reasons? Were you able to get over letting go of a good match otherwise? Girl, sometimes, like I say, sometimes things just happen. People grow apart. I'm definitely the kind of person where, like a big love language of mine, if you believe in love languages, is quality time. I need to be spending time with someone physically. Like, it doesn't need to be getting physical, but I need to be in the same space as somebody. Otherwise, it doesn't feel like we're in a romantic or couple or whatever. Do you know what I mean? More than a friendship type relationship. Then it just feels like we're friends. I feel like being close to someone, like sitting close on the couch, like snuggling up or whatever, that's the kind of things to me that makes the difference. Because, you know, the questions come up before, what's the difference between being in a relationship and just having a really good friend? Do you know what I mean? And for me, a big part of that is the quality time that you spend together. It's not the only part, of course, but for me, it's a big part of it. So I've never had a long distance relationship, and I don't think personally that I could do it. It doesn't mean I would never try, but it would have to have been that we were in the same place initially and then someone moved away. I wouldn't start a long distance relationship with someone that we'd never been in the same place before. That's just my personal preference. It's just not for me. So where am I going with this? So that can be an example of how, like, it doesn't have to be that you didn't like the person anymore, or that something bad happened, or that, you know, there was some incident, or you found something out, whatever. That doesn't have to be the case. Sometimes it's just like, look, you're still a great person, I still have feelings for you, but we haven't seen each other in 2 months, and the last time we saw each other was like 3 months before that. It's not really working out for me. I don't feel like I'm in a relationship anymore. I need something more than just like texts and phone calls and then seeing you every couple of months. Do you know what I mean? I can totally get breaking up for practical reasons. People are just different, you know, like some people that doesn't make a difference to them, but as I say, then what's the difference between being in a relationship and just being friends? So yeah, what was the question? Have you broken up for practical reasons? I haven't, but I can understand it. Were you able to get over letting go of a good match otherwise? I mean, I don't... You know, this whole thing, out of sight, out of mind, right? And that's like very much the case for a lot of neurodivergent people, which is why we need things to be like, we need to be able to physically see something in order to remember that we need it for something. Like, for example, like taking your medication, it needs to be like physically out in the place where you normally take your medication, or else you'll forget about it and you won't take your medication, right? If I've broken up with someone, like, even like if I still have feelings for them, or if like it was a sudden thing that was like unexpected, or if it was just, you know, whatever, I'm able to get over it pretty quickly. And it doesn't mean that, it's not a reflection at all about that person or about that relationship or how I felt about the person. It's just, I am a very practical person, and hey, we've broken up, that's it. Now I see you in a different way. You do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if maybe it's like radical acceptance or whatever, but if something is over, okay, it's over. Like, I'm not saying that straight away I'll be fine and I'm not going to feel sad about it. Like, you know, potentially I will be sad about it, but I mean, I once broke up from a long-term relationship where I was living with the guy, and after he moved out, like, I felt like I should cry, but I just fucking couldn't. I was like, I feel really okay about this. So how was I able to get over it? Or was I able to get over it? Yeah. How? I don't know, I guess it's just my personality type. Some people hold on to things for longer than others. As I say, for me, it absolutely wasn't a reflection of, you know, the relationship or the person or how I felt. It's just the way I am. I just don't hold on to things. And again, maybe that's to do with the neurodivergent memory thing. And, you know, the same way I don't hold grudges, I don't hold on to things that are over. Yeah. Anyway, how to tell my date my concerns about going to his place on a third date? Why do you assume that that's going to happen on the third date? And also, if you're uncomfortable with that, why is that? Why are you still dating this person? I recently started dating again after my breakup last year. I'm still trying to heal, and that's why I want to move things slower. However, I'm having trouble telling my date that I don't want to get intimate too soon. I don't want to mention that I'm healing because it's personal, and I don't want to give them the impression that I'm just looking for a rebound, which isn't my intention. Yeah, I'm kind of thinking, like, are you ready to be dating again? Because if you're still trying to heal, why are you then throwing yourself into another situation? But that's not the question. But it seems like the guys I've been dating all started to invite me over to their places for a second date. But you're talking about the third date. I live in a small town, so there aren't many things to do outdoors in winter. Maybe that's why. My date just asked me to go to his for a movie date. I've only been out with him twice, haven't kissed yet, and I'm wondering if I should bring up my expectations that I would like to come over but not getting intimate without implying that this might be his intention. I've had bad experiences with my last date where all we did was a goodbye kiss on a second date, and suddenly he came on so strong and just wanted to make out all the time on the third date just because I invited him over for watching Super Bowl. Is there a way to communicate better? I don't want to mislead anyone, but also don't want to appear to accuse them for their intentions in case they just really want to hang out because there aren't many outdoor activities that we can do. Edit, thank you all for your feedback. To clarify, the Super Bowl guy and the movie guy are two different guys. I've expressed to the movie guy that I wanted to take things slow on our second date, but somehow he still kept suggesting home dates. That's why I'm not sure if his intention was really just to chill at home. I've just texted him back that I would want to do something outside for now. Okay, so you're dating the Super Bowl guy. Oh, so many things in this, so many things. Okay, so basically what happened is you were in a relationship last year, didn't go too well, now you're back on the dating scene, but you're still trying to heal from that. And while you're still trying to heal, you want to take things slow with the next person that you're with. You're not looking for a rebound thing, but you just want to take things slow. You don't want to get physical with someone too early on, but you don't know how to tell that to the person because you don't want to then accuse them of wanting to get physical too early on, but also you're uncomfortable and you don't know how to approach the situation because you don't want a repeat of what's happened before. In my experience, because what was it you asked? Or what was it you said? I live in a small town, so there aren't many things to do outdoor in winter. Maybe that's why it seems like all the guys I've been dating started to invite me to their places for a second date. In my experience, guys just want you over to their place like as soon as fucking possible. In general. Obviously not everyone, but it's been a pattern that I've noticed that it's like either the first date or if not then on the second date, they want you to come over and I don't know why. I mean, maybe it is like a sexual thing, maybe they are just wanting to like get physical as soon as, but I do think that other people don't necessarily have that mindset, like other people that still invite you over really early. I don't think that they're always looking to get physical. But yeah, I can see how, you know, in a small town, if there's not that much to do, maybe that ups the chances of them inviting you to their house because there's nothing else to do. I don't think anyone should ever go to somebody's house for a first date. You don't know that person. Do you know what I mean? And it's nothing to do with it like being like meeting them online, because I've talked about this before, how people seem to think that dating online is more dangerous than dating someone that you met in a bar. They're still a stranger either way, but when it's in a bar, they can follow you home. When it's online, they can't do that unless you meet them. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, that's besides the point. Yeah, so as I say, in my experience, a lot of guys just invite you to their place like as soon as, but it doesn't mean that they want to get physical straight away, so I understand you're not wanting to accuse. However, I would say in general, it's not unreasonable to assume that they're expecting something or they're wanting to open up the situation to something getting physical. So I am a very direct person. I have said before, like on whatever date it would be, doesn't really matter. Sure, I'll come over, but just so you know, we're not going to have sex. I just say it straight up. And the reaction has always been totally fine. So I just set the expectation, do you know what I mean? I'm maybe a bit bolder in that respect than other people are, so If you don't want to go down that route, then, maybe just say, hey, until we know each other a little bit better, I would be more comfortable doing things outside of the house, just it would make me feel a bit safer. Or you could say, until we know each other a little bit better, I just generally prefer to do things outside, and also I want to take it slow. What else could you say? You could also say, hey, I don't mind hanging out at your place, but just so you know, I want to take things slow, and I don't want you to think that me coming over means that we're going to be physical. There are ways to put it, for sure. How do I tell my date? Yeah, that's how you tell them. Cool. Next one, dating a vegan. So I've been dating someone who is vegan for almost 4 months and needs some advice. I am very used to fellowshipping and connecting with people over food, but the man I'm dating now is not only vegan but intermittently fasts as well and doesn't really eat dinner. If we're going to eat dinner together, I have to let him know days ahead of time so he can work it out into his schedule, and then half the time he can't find vegan dishes to order, which is not his fault. Why don't you look for a place that has vegan options? That seems a bit exclusive. He also doesn't like eating out because he used to work in restaurants and it grosses him out. But he doesn't cook a lot either. He eats a lot of frozen and canned food or blends things up into smoothies, etc. I guess I'm looking for advice on how to work around this. It's very odd to me, not that he's vegan, but his eating schedule and the restrictions he has with his fasting. I can and do find friends to eat out with any time I want, if that's what I want to do, and I don't want this to become an issue. I respect his eating habits and don't think it's appropriate to comment on anyone's diet, I agree. But have you been this person or dated this person? Any advice on how we can eat together sometimes, or not finding myself at his place or mine, eating by myself all the time? I recognise this is often how eating disorders manifest in men. It has come up and he has said he doesn't have an eating disorder. Just in case anybody's wondering. What's the question? Have you been in this position or dated this person? Any advice on how we can eat together sometimes? Yeah, you do need to plan a little bit, days in advance. That seems a bit like, okay, fair enough. Yeah, I have some friends who intermittently fast or whatever. They tend to just have one meal a day or whatever. And I, go through phases of just having one meal a day as well. Because that works well for me. And what I will do is when people say do you want to go for dinner or whatever, I'll then plan around that, and I'll maybe just have something small earlier on because I know I need to wait until later, or I'll just wait and not have something around lunchtime or lunar time. So I do think that you can also be accommodating of their schedule, with a friend of mine who only has one meal a day around a certain time. When I went to visit her and I just asked what would this time be good for you, so you can both eat around that time. This person doesn't like going to restaurants though, so that's maybe a little bit more tricky, because as I say, you could just say, well, where would be good for you that has vegan options, or I found this place that seems to have vegan options, do you want to take a look? In general, that's something you could do, but if this person doesn't like that kind of thing, what's to say that you couldn't also eat what they're eating? Because if you went to a completely vegan restaurant, you could then also eat vegan food. This person eats frozen food or blends things up. Maybe you could try that, see how it is. Or maybe, if you don't want to do that, you can bring something over, or you can cook at their place, or they can come to you with their shake or frozen thing or whatever. I understand the whole bonding over food thing, I really do, but I think that it's not as big an issue as you seem to think it is. There are ways you can work around it, and if it's just presumably it's the spending time together and it's the talking that's the important part of the dinner, not that you eat at the same time. Do you know what I mean? So I think there's definitely ways that you can get around it. Have I been this person or dated this person? Sure. And I've already given advice on how you can get around it. Cool, what's the last one? Struggling here a bit. Did I do something wrong that caused him to suddenly change his behaviour immediately? This happened to me last month, but I'm still struggling a bit to overcome what happened. Would really appreciate your perspectives. So I'm a 31-year-old female and have been dating this guy who's a 36-year-old male that I met on Hinge for about 2 months. We met 6 times and did a lot of different activities together. He was consistent during the whole time, regularly texting, initiating making plans, buying flowers, booking dates, dinner, etc. Timeline. A week of December 18th, 2023, my family's lives abroad, so I visited them for 2 full weeks. During then, my date and I were constantly messaging each other. The week of 8th of January, once I was back, we decided to meet on Friday night, but he said his plan changed and he had to go see his family, so we decided to meet on Sunday. On Sunday, he messaged me saying his friend broke up, etc., so he thinks he needs to be with him, asked if we could meet on Monday instead. I told him I can't see him on Monday that week because I have to study, important for my career, and then I have friends coming to visit me during the weekend. So eventually we met on January 14th, a Sunday. Are you keeping up? 14th of January, we met finally and had dinner. He went to my place. I told him I can't see him for 1 full week again, and I think he wanted to have sex. I wanted to as well, but I was on my period, so we hung out for a bit and then he left. Week of 15th of January, so the next day, he didn't message me at all since then for full 1 week. Why do you say for full 1 week? For 1 full week. So of course I messaged him saying I miss you, etc., checking in. And he goes, why don't you take me out for dinner on Sunday? I had friends on Sunday, so I said I couldn't. And you didn't offer another day? Week of 22nd of January, I messaged him on Monday, and that's when he suddenly changed. No planning, initiating dates, etc. So I planned everything and took him out for dinner, and then we slept together. This was a red flag, but I thought maybe he was upset that I couldn't see him for a week. After we met and had dinner, I think he wanted to sleep over at my place, so we slept together, and then suddenly he mentioned his deal breaker, which I knew about but didn't expect him to bring up, and says we should reconsider about if we want to move forward to this relationship because he thinks he and I are not on the same page with this deal breaker issue. What is the deal breaker? And then previously he will sleep over with me at my place, but he just left. He said see you soon. Ever since then, other than thanks for the dinner message, I heard nothing back from him. Did that 1 week where I couldn't see him change this much to reconsider the whole thing we had over the last 3 months? Well, what was his deal breaker? Was his deal breaker that we have to see each other at least X times per week? Or has this been his plan all along, just to sleep with me, and if I become inconvenient then just suddenly change and cut me off? Okay, the deal breaker was having kids. I'm on the fence and he doesn't want to have kids. I told him it's a question mark for me at the moment. He asked me after I came back from overseas what my stance is. I told him that honestly I'm on the fence and question mark for me. He also did put it on the dating app profile. I just didn't see it coming through like this after date, dinner and sex. Lesson learned, dating in 30s, really have to think about this realistic issues up front and ahead, what I want. Can I meet someone who's physically attractive and have same values, compatible personalities with me? This has been so difficult to me. Their physical attractiveness is not any relation to their values or personality. But anyway, I mean, let's summarize. I think this was maybe like a bit too detailed, like more detailed than it had to be. So basically you went overseas, then you met this person. When you came back, you had to rearrange a couple times because of things on his end. He was good at rearranging. You finally met with him and you were going to arrange seeing again, but you couldn't because you had to study so you weren't going to see each other for a week. Then you text him the day after you met. Yeah, I didn't. Week of, okay, maybe a week. Message him saying miss you, just checking in. And he says, why don't you take me out for dinner on Sunday? That to me is him initiating. The following week, that's when he suddenly changed apparently. No initiating dates. So I planned everything. Well, maybe he was doing all the initiating before and he wanted you to do some of it. Like, was it equal? Maybe he was kind of sick of always being the one arranging. That could have been a thing. Took him out for dinner and we slept together. This was a red flag, but I thought he was maybe upset that I couldn't see him for a week. What is it that was the red flag? The fact that you went out to dinner and then you slept together? If so, I don't know how that's a red flag. If it was that you planned everything, well, he was planning everything before. So after we met and had dinner, he wanted to sleep over. Then he mentioned his deal breaker and said, I don't know if we should move forward in a relationship because maybe we're not on the same page. Ever since then, other than saying thanks for the meal, you've heard nothing back. Did that 1 week where I couldn't see him change him this much? I think I think this person has been very clear that he does not want kids, to the fact that he will advertise it on his Hinge profile. So it's like, if you want kids, keep swiping, I don't want kids. So you've been seeing him for X amount of time. You've been on X amount of dates and you still haven't clarified with him whether or not you want kids. I think he either was starting to catch feelings for you, or it was just getting to that point in the relationship where he usually decides, okay, what is this? Are we gonna, keep dating, keep being in a relationship? Are we gonna get serious, or is this not for us? I think he maybe got to that point and he was like, well, it depends on whether or not she wants kids, is it she? Yes, it depends on whether or not she wants kids. Maybe that was in his mind, and maybe, similar to me, he was thinking, well, if I'm going to start having feelings for this person, I want to know that we're on the same page for this thing. And if we're not on the same page, then I want to then back away from it because there's no point in wasting everybody's time. That would be my guess. Should he have slept with you before that? Probably not. Maybe he didn't really think about it at the time, or maybe he thought that he could wait, and then after you slept together, maybe he was like, shit, actually, do you know what I mean? Maybe that's what made him realise. But I don't think that it was the fact that you didn't see him for a week. I think that's much of a much. I think it's the fact that you still haven't clarified on the deal breaker. Because how long do you expect someone to wait? How long do you expect someone to keep dating you and not know the situation on this big deal breaker point? To me, that's very clearly the reason, I would say. Could he have been more explicit? Of course. He could have said, okay, well, until you decide, I don't really think that we should continue dating because, naturally things will progress, and I don't think it would be fair to let things progress if we're not actually on the same page about stuff. So have a think about it, and if you can, let me know what your feelings are towards it. But until then, maybe we should take a little bit of a break. Do you know what I mean? So I think you should have more of like what you want in your mind before you start dating other people, because dating over 30, these kind of things are going to come up more. And think about as well, like, do you want to date someone who has kids already? Do you want to be a step parent? Think about that sort of thing as well. What do you want to do with your life? Where do you want to live? These kind of things. That was all I had for you today from Dating Over 30. As I say, I do prefer this sometimes to the general dating advice ones, or the ones like that you tend to get a younger crowd, just because it tends to be the same things over and over. But I think these ones were a bit more interesting, a bit more meaty. I do hope that you enjoyed the episode. Thank you very much for joining me, and I will see you again next time. Bye bye, bye bye, bye.